Okay. Hello, everybody. Leonardo here. I'm here with Michael Castillo. We're going to do this kind of podcast about one of the most commonly used methods in 3x3 today, which is Friedrich. So, our objective is to do a kind of experiment. We have never done this before. The idea is that if we get some general acceptance, we could keep doing some of these videos with different categories like megaminx, 2x2, 4x4. So first, let me introduce you to Michael Castillo. He's going to introduce himself.
Hi there, this is Michael Castillo. So I have been pretty much queuing since 10 years. I first started out in 2010. My first competition was around 2011. I went to Meta Genius 2011. Pretty much where I met Leonardo as well. So since then we have been queuing together. We have gone to many competitions as well. So right now my main categories would be 3x3, 4x4, megamits, and one-handed. Those are the ones that I mostly practice. Well, kind of 5x5 as well. So like Leonardo said, we're gonna be doing this. Hopefully, if we see that it gets some acceptance from you guys, we're gonna be doing this every single weekend, maybe with a different topic. Also, the main idea is to practice the English for you to know a little bit about us and also a little bit about what we can recommend you guys to improve on, right? Well, I don't think I got anything else to say, so we can move forward.
Thank you. Yeah, for those who don't know me yet, I am Leonardo Chaparro, Colombian candidate delegate. I have been Cuban since 2008, but my first competition, official competition, was on in 2011. So my main categories are 2x2, 3x3, and megamix. I do all categories, but those are my three main ones. And well, let's get started. Today we're going to talk about Friedrich, right? The method Friedrich, which is also known as CFOP or CFOP for the initials of the four steps that it contains, right? We're going to start with the cross, which is one of the most basic steps for this method. The idea is that we're going to give you some general overview of what it is to do the cross, and then we'll give you some beginner's tips, and after that, some advanced tips, right? So for the cross, let me pin this video here.
Yes, let me just interrupt you right there. So the main
Go
idea
ahead.
is also to show you a little bit about how we solve the cube, how we used to do it before, how we do it right now. So what you should take into account and what you shouldn't take into account while doing the first steps in this method, right? So we're gonna be comparing our ways of solving the cube and also a little bit also our experiences while coming across with all the solves, right?
Yes. So the basic idea of the cross is to complete the four edges of one color, right? Uh, I started with the blue cross since the beginning, but now I would recommend you not to do that, but I would recommend you to start being neutral, uh, using any color from the beginning, because it's much more simple after some time, right? So,
I guess that everybody does it at the beginning, but then let's say that depending on which kind of videos you see. For example, I remember that I was able to solve it from any single color, but then my mainly videos were in white cross, so I ended up getting used to it, right? Then
yeah, many
I couldn't go
people
further.
many people recommend starting with the white color, with the white cross. But again, it's up to you. If you want to get used to only one color, it's okay. But personally, I recommend to do it neutral from the beginning. right?
Uh-huh.
So what is the basic idea? You should first check the 6 colors and see which one is easier. What is easier? Here you have 2 edges, for example. On the orange, you have only 1 edge. So obviously we're going to start with white in this case because we already have 2 edges. What is the idea? I take the green center here and I need to align it with the green center, right? That's the idea. Luckily, I got this edge here, and in order to continue, I just have to look for one of the next edges, white and red. First, I locate the red one with the red center, just like this, and then take the white part to the white center. That's the basic idea of the cross, and you do that with the 4 edges. So that's a beginner cross. Some of the tips that we would like to give you. First is memorize your skin color. So for example, when I do the blue cross, I know that if I have red here, I don't need to go to the red and see that here I have white, but I just remember that on this place I should have a white edge, right? And on this place a yellow edge. That's important because you can, for example, do this. I have red here and yellow here. So I know that only by doing this, these 2 edges are correct, you know, and that can save you a lot of time. If I continue, I know that next to the yellow one, I'm going to have the orange color. So I can do these 3 and I already know that they are correct. That's one of the tips we can give you. The second tip for a little more intermediate or advanced is try to do your cross on the bottom layer, right? Not on top. Some cubers recommend this, some other cubers don't, but personally, I recommend it because you can have space and time to check the pieces that you have on the top layer while you finish the cross, right? Because you can, for example, finish your cross here on top, and then you have to do a rotation and start looking for the pieces for the next step. Instead, if you do your cross on bottom, you can finish, and while you're doing the last move, you already have time to check the pieces that you need for the next step. Um, what do you recommend, Michael? Do you recommend using the cross on bottom or on top?
Well, that pretty much is it's up to you. So I would like to give you also my example. I'm gonna be starting with the white cross. So like just said, pretty much you need to locate as much pieces as possible. For example, you need to take advantage of the pieces that are already located. If you already know all the scheme, for example, you know that, for example, your white is your main color, so you already know which is next blue, which is next blue, it's orange, then green, and so on and so on. So, for example, in this case, just in addition to what you said, it's to take advantage. I mean, not going piece by piece. Instead of doing that, it's like look twice and double check which pieces you can locate by doing the least moves possible, right? For example, here I got orange, so I know that I got here also the red one. So probably everybody would do it like this. So just R2, and then you got this 2 in the right side. So that what I did, it's that I already saw this before, even locating this one. So as I already know that green is going to go before red, so I can at the same time while I'm doing R2, I can locate the piece where it should be, and then just finish this up with in this case it was a B prime, and then well, so I'm missing just the blue one, and then locate the centers, right? So there are many examples. For example, let's say most of, let me put this one. Okay, like this. For example, you got the piece here, right? So you already located these two. So you go for the third one, which is the red one. So instead of just going this and then go for the fourth one, so you can, I mean, you could have done this, which is taking advantage of doing U2. Then when you are placing this down, so you can get the blue as well. So that's pretty simple. I mean, if you keep on practicing that, you will develop a logic so you can, let's say, do it in every single solve that you get, right? And that would be my advice. Also, to I wouldn't do D because I don't like it, honestly. What I do pretty much is, for example, just keep on doing this kind of moves, right? EOW moves, right? Because, like
Well,
you said, if you do the cross on the bottom side, so you can go ahead and look for more pieces on the upside, and also like keep an eye on which is going to be your next move, right? For example, if I do D, then I don't see what is next, right? Instead of if I do this, then I got another point of view from my cube, so I can start out from another side. I mean, that would be my advice, right?
well, personally, I don't do that because in my case I get confused. Let me change. Let me open this video here. Yeah, when you do this is UW. I don't like it precisely because I lose the awareness or of where are my centers, right? Like which color is in front of me, and that confuses me. So that's why I prefer D. Again, every cuber has his own style. But yeah,
I
the
mean,
two ways,
we
I think
can
the two
get.
ways are okay.
Mhm.
I have
Yes,
seen
of course.
a lot of expert cubers
For
using that.
example, if you're yes, if you already saw the first part of the next step, so you should do D. But maybe you didn't see, or maybe you didn't have the chance to see any pair. So maybe if you do UW, so you can get another point of view, right? I mean, the ideal is to get either UD or D move, so you can combine this kind of ways to make the cross. But yes, I mean that'd be up to everybody else, right?
Yeah. But as you said, it actually has an advantage, right? Because it can let you see other pieces too. All right,
Mhm.
I think that's pretty much it for the cross. It's also important to count the moves that you're using so that you can have an average of what an optimal cross is. I think that the ideal is to get as few as moves as possible. 4 moves, 5 moves would be an excellent cross. Uh, what is your opinion about this number?
Yes, I mean actually I do agree with the idea. The idea is like you master your cross until you get the point that you can even memorize all the four pieces, and you can even imagine your cross with like if we were blindfold, right? So that's ideal. I mean, even when you already inspected all the pieces, the ideal is to get that point where you can already memorize all the pieces, and you don't even have to think. So you have already memorized everything, and you can just move forward. I would say that, for example, in my case, and also in your case, you are able to memorize all the four pieces, and while you are doing the four pieces, at the same time, you can look forward to know what are going to be the other pieces to build the next step, right? For me, it's quite important to have this clear because pretty much it's the initial step. So if you're able to master this step, uh, the better your cross is, the better is going to be your cross and yourself as well. So because if you take a lot of time doing the cross, then you're going to lose the time by looking for the other person in your resolution, right? And that's why I would say that the starting cross it's quite important to start out. Right?
So we should use the inspection to plan all the cross, right? That's the objective. That you can plan the complete cross during the 15 seconds that you have for the inspection. Of course, at the beginning is a little more difficult, but that's the objective. I want to show you something that is called extended cross, which is a little more advanced. Let me show you an example here. Okay. Let's ignore this part. Let's suppose that you have this situation, right? You're about to finish your cross. You just need to complete D, but you notice that you have a corner that is already correct in place. Yeah. So what you can do is before you finish your cross, no, let's suppose that you have this piece not solved yet. Before you finish your cross, you can do some extra moves to help you complete the beginning of the next step, which is the F2L. In this case, since I already have the corner here, I can go ahead and insert the edge in its correct place, and then just finish the cross. In this case, I need to complete first the back edge. So you finish your cross, and then when you place the correct colors, you're going to have one pair already solved, which is what we're going to talk about in a moment, the F2L. This is not, it doesn't have like algorithms or cases. It's more of an intuitive sub-step of the cross. And I think that you develop this by doing a lot of solves and simply just paying attention to the pieces that you already have at this point. Do you use extended cross in your solves, Michael?
Well, when I got the chance, I mean, this is not something that you can use all the time, but I would say that I try to, I mean, if I'm able to, let's put an example right here. Let me just mix, scramble a little bit the cube. Okay, for example, so I got this block, right?
Yeah.
So pretty much I'm gonna be doing the green cross. So I can just, for example, I just need to locate the two missing pieces, which is the yellow one and the red one. So we go like this. I haven't even finished my centers, but since I already know it will end up with this being solved, I need to trace the piece that in this case is already solved right here. But let's say that I don't have it. So let's say that it's on the up, it's in the up phase, right? So pretty much we need to locate it, then insert it like this, and then I can finish my cross. But then it will depend on every single solve that you get. I mean, I would say that at least 50% of the times that you get a scramble, you get a chance to do it, right? It's 50-50, right? Because in some cases as well, you're able to force the extended cross, or mainly known as extras as well.
Yeah, right. To finish with the cross, I want to comment something that I have been trying lately, which is called something that is called FreeFOP. Maybe you have heard about it, Michael?
No, actually, I don't have any idea.
We have extended cross, and what I'm going to show you, I think it's called FreeFOP. I'm not sure about the name. What is the idea? That it's simple. Before you finish the cross, sometimes you can see that you can do one pair before you finish the cross. So for example, I'm having an easy case here where I have 3 pieces already solved. So what I can do is, before I finish the last edge of my cross, I can see a pair that is very easy, or maybe something like this. like basic case of F2L. So I can just solve it first, because if I finish my cross, I could destroy that pair. So I can just start by doing first one pair and then finish the cross, right? That's something that I have seen. I think Felix uses this. I have seen some of his solves. So if you're interested in,
which is good.
you can
I
investigate.
mean,
It's called CFOP. Go ahead.
basically, it means that you don't have to complete the cross to start out the F12 stage, right? So you can
Exactly.
even just place the first three pieces, and then move forward for another pair, and then you can even have two pairs, and you haven't even finished your cross. Now, actually,
Again.
I think it's good because.
Go ahead.
I mean, yes, when you. I mean, it doesn't take too much to just place. Let's say, we need to put an example. Okay, for example, the same. I got the yellow cross. I already got the pair built in. So pretty much, it doesn't take too much to just place this piece where it should be. So just by doing D prime and R prime, then go back, you got the piece located. So sometimes it's even better to look forward for the first pair before you even finish up your cross, right? Which is the main idea of doing free FOP, I guess.
Yes, that's the idea. Which is kind of like improvising, yes, because in some way it's similar to Petrus, because you end up solving a 2 by 2 by 3 block, and that's called block building. So it's basically improvise. This what you can do this when you have a lot of practice with the cross. I think with that we conclude the section of the cross. Remember, the tips are: first, memorize your scheme of colors. It's necessary to remember where is every color located. Try to complete your cross on the bottom layer. Also, Michael gave us one tip, which is using one movement to solve two pieces. So sometimes you can use one piece and at the same time solve other piece, right? Only with one or two moves in a very convenient way. And the final tip is try to plan all the cross during the inspection, so that your solve starts and you know exactly what to do to finish your cross. Let's continue to the next step, F2L.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna be the one that is in charge of explaining to you guys what it means and pretty much what you need to take into account if you're learning, if you have started learning just F2L, right? So F2L goes right away before you have made your cross. So I'm going to start over with, let's see what we get here. I would say white, it's the most convenient one. So I got the pieces, I'm going to place them right away. So F2L, meaning first two layers, consists in the building, instead of going corner by corner and then each piece by each piece on the second floor, you can build 4 pairs, and then you need to just do it 4 times, and then you will get the first two layers, right? I'm going to give an example real quick. You need to locate a corner, and then you need to uh, locate the one that pairs up with the corner. For example, I got white one with orange and blue. Here I have it. So you need to place it where it should be, which is right there. As you already saw, so it didn't take me more than, let's say, 3 movements to get the pair built and then to insert it where it was, right? So now I got this one and this one. So I have it, this one, and these two, right? So now, pretty much The way you need to start with it's by knowing the three known cases, which I define them like, I'm gonna start with all the three slots already solved. I'm gonna start just with the last slot. I think that it's pretty convenient for you to understand it in this way. So I got the two pieces, right? I got the corner. Then what I identify is which kind of case I got. So the first one is when you got the two pieces on the top and the colors that you get are different, right? So you got this one and this one, right? So the second case, it's when you got the two pieces on the top, right? And you got the same color right here. And the third case would be when you get the color cross, which is white in this case, on the top, right? Those are the three mainly cases. So the ideal, of course, I mean, the F2L, it's based in 42 cases. The ideal is pretty much get every single case that you got, try to turn it out in any of these three mainly cases. So you can come across with the easiest one, which I guess that everybody knows, is when you got the two different colors,
Different colors, yeah.
and then you use exactly. So the idea is to try to build a pair of every single case that you get in that way. For example, I got this case, and the way in which I solve it, it's just by separating the pair. Then I got the same pair, which is the first case. And then I got the same. Everything for me, I mean, if you ask me right now, I would say that everything it's based on doing the same until you get any of the three cases, right? My recommendation, of course, it's to master the first three cases, right? Because if you can get every single case to any of these, the three main ones, so you can get F2L in a pretty convenient way. Of course, I'm just explaining to you with the last slab unsolved. So let's go ahead and give you an example. Right before you finish your course, what you need to do is to start, well, what I actually do is to start with the first corner that it works for me. For example, the one I have located is this one. So the second step would be just tracing the one that is the couple of this one, which is blue and orange. So I need to go for the edge, blue and orange, which is right here. So now here is the deal, right? So what it makes it complicated at the beginning, it's that you got right-hand cases and left-hand cases, right? You need to learn how to solve it in the left way and how to solve it in the right way. So that's why you can get confused a little bit about it because you're not pretty handy with your left hand. So pretty much, if you haven't mastered your left movement, so then you're gonna get in trouble. So my recommendation for you is to try to make every single algorithm that you learn the way you can apply it for moves that you are already used to. For example, here the pair can be solved by doing just left moves, right? For example, L prime, U prime, L, right? But if you're not pretty handy, what you can do is just rotate the cube and do the same with the right hand, which is pretty convenient for me, at least in this case, do that I'm right hand and pretty much all the algorithms that I already know are just with R and U moves, right? So in this case would be R prime, U prime, R, and I got the same amount of moves, and also I got the same algorithm, but in this case I just did it using my right hand, right? So if you are ready to recognize right cases and left cases, you will get F2L pretty much in a good way. So now here's the thing, something that I would like to ask Leonardo is that, of course, the method contains 42 cases, right? There's no more, there's no less cases. But of course, I would like to ask you for how was it for you? Which is your experience? Did you learn case by case? Did you learn it by yourself? Did you even look to a manual or something like this to learn the F2L? Or how did you start out?
Well, I learned F2L with a video. It was, I remember very much, it was a Spanish guy. he used a Rubik's cube, like the Rubik's brand cube. I just learned the three basic cases, and after that, I just tried to understand the cases and play around with the pairs, because I don't
Mhm.
really believe in using algorithms for F2L, because what basically happens is that this case, for example, blue cross, and I have the corner here and the edge here, right? I can find this as a case. So the case is an algorithm that is R, U, R prime, U2, R, U prime, R prime. But of course, it makes no sense to do it like that, because I can understand that if I hide this corner and I put this corner in this edge in this position, when I put the corner back, the pair is going to be complete. So that's something that
Uh-huh.
I can understand and not memorize. So when you understand that, it's much more simple to remember, because you are not doing it like an algorithm of OLL or PLL, which is what we are going to discuss in the next steps. You see? So yeah, I recommend do it intuitively and just play with the cases. Master the three basic cases, and the rest is just practicing and practicing, and you're going to see what is the most optimal case in every situation. Of course,
Okay.
when you are more advanced, there are some cases that you can actually look for an alg. You see, this case, for example, has a lot of ways to solve it. Personally, I use one if I have it from this position. I use one if I have it from this position, and I use a different case if I have it from this position. See? But at the beginning, I used to just separate the pieces, you know, and then do the basic case, which is solving it like this. You see?
So at this point, you wouldn't say that you need to learn any notation, any alg so far. I mean, you need to learn just the first three cases, and then
Yes,
from there, I mean, from that point, you need to just go on your own, right?
exactly. But when you get to certain level, it's going to be necessary to learn some difficult
Of
cases
course.
with better algorithms that maybe you cannot discover by yourself. You see, some people already have some cases with excellent algorithms. Let me, for example, show you this, which is one of the difficult cases. That was my cat. So I do it like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the pair is solved in the back part. You just put it. I didn't learn that by
What did you?
myself. I just checked
Uh-huh.
the case somewhere. I don't remember where. But there are many videos on YouTube of some pro cubers explaining some very specific cases. Those are videos that you can check when you have already practiced F2L for a while.
What do you think about right cases, left cases? As well as me, you did the migration to try to make every single case the way you can solve them with the right hand or something like this. Are your left hand, right hand,
Yeah, well,
which is the one?
actually, I think the discussion sometimes is using rotations or trying to avoid rotations. So sometimes it's good to do the rotation because you can have space uh, to check the next case, but sometimes it's just much easier to do it with your left hand. So yeah, I will say, I mean, you have two hands. You need to use the two hands if you want to be as fast as possible. You need to master how to use both of your hands, all of your fingers, you know. So yeah,
Of
absolutely.
course.
I absolutely recommend using left and right cases. But also, I mean, if you know the case from the left, you should also be able to do it from the right in the back part, right?
Didn't you notice that when you were learning, pretty much what you did with the with the left cases is that you did the mirror of that case with the left hand. So you did. I mean, let's say that when you learn one case, you already know the mirror of that case because you can do it in the same way with left moves, right? So didn't
Yes.
you do the same? Yeah. So that's why
Yeah, I think
it's pretty intuitive.
yeah, I think it's pretty intuitive, pretty natural. It happens like without you even realizing that you are actually doing it. All right. Is there something else that you recommend for F12, Michael?
Yes, I would like to just give you an example and try to sum up a little bit with the crush, as well as the crush. This step is pretty intuitive, so you don't need to learn pretty much all the database of the algorithm. So you can just learn this by yourself. But at the same way, I want you to understand this is quite important because the idea is to try to just do this 4 times, right?
Yeah.
If you let's say that if you mess it up, you're gonna screw up yourself as well. So the idea is to either cross an F12. You can try to put your best on this and try to do your best while doing the first 2 layers, including the cross, of course. And then you can just take your time by doing the last layer, right? And yes, keep practicing. Something that you can do is just doing normal scramble in your computer and your timer, whatever the timer you use. So and just let's say uh, solve your cube until you get F12 done, and then just let's say averaging until you get F12 solved. So at least in my case, I'm doing it right now. So I got 5 seconds, which is pretty good, I guess. And then you go so on, right? That
Oh,
would be my
practicing only F12, right? That's what you recommend.
individually, right?
It,
Individually, right?
yeah. Um, I wanted to say something too. I think that when you want to be, let's say, sub 10, uh, the most important thing is the transition between the cross and the F12. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we finish the cross and we stop looking for the first pair. So if you reach the point where you can do the cross and start the first pair at the same time, that gives you an impulse so that you actually can finish cross and all the F12 non-stop, right? Which of course
Mm-hmm.
is the final objective. So right now, personally, I am concentrated in improving this part, transitioning between the cross and the F12, because I'm pretty slow sometimes. I finish the cross and I take, let's say, half a second, 1 second, looking for the first
Yes,
pair.
and that's cool. Actually, I would like to quote doing a slow turning when you practicing this. So just get the time, maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour, to just practice the cube without timing and just doing a slow turning so you can get to use and maybe you